Have you ever had the feeling that someone beside you is not who they seem to be? That sense of discomfort, as if a dark cloud is hanging over you whenever that person is around. This could be a sign that you're dealing with a malevolent person. Often, these people don't reveal their true intentions straight away. They hide behind masks of friendliness and good intentions. They could be at your workplace, within your circle of friends, or even in your family. And without you realizing it, they are draining your energy, undermining your self-esteem, and making your life more difficult than it should be. Understanding the signs that reveal a malevolent person is essential for protecting your mental and emotional health. After all, no one deserves to live in a constant state of alertness, insecurity, or even fear. And don't be mistaken, these people have very specific characteristics, but because we're so busy with the hustle and bustle of everyday life, we end up ignoring or justifying their behavior. The problem is that when we fail to see reality as it is, we risk allowing these people to wreak havoc in our lives. For instance, have you ever met someone who constantly belittles your achievements, makes disguised criticisms in the form of jokes, or manipulates situations to make you feel guilty for no reason? If this sounds familiar, it might be because you're facing this pain without knowing how to react. But there is good news. It is possible to identify these signs in time and distance yourself before these people can cause more harm. Recognizing these signs will empower you to take control of your life and, most importantly, protect yourself against the destructive effects of these toxic relationships. Today, we will explore the clear signs that indicate when a malevolent person is beside you. We will understand what motivates this behavior, and most importantly, how you can protect yourself and avoid falling into the emotional traps these people set. I want you to finish this video, not only knowing how to identify these signs, but also with the confidence to act assertively and protect your well-being. So, if this topic interests you, give it a like and stay here with me, because we are going to talk about real situations that may be happening in your life right now. Before we start, if you are already a subscriber, go ahead and like the video with the confidence that what is coming is transformative content. And if you are new here, subscribe to the channel, because every week I bring videos that can genuinely take your life to another level. Sign 1. Pleasure in the pain of others. Schadenfreude. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to enjoy others' suffering? This phenomenon even has a name. Schadenfreude. It's a German word that describes the pleasure someone feels when seeing another person facing difficulties. It sounds strange, doesn't it? After all, we all go through tough times, and it's natural that we seek support and compassion from others. But unfortunately, some people are different. They feel a silent satisfaction in seeing someone fail, stumble, or get frustrated. And that says a lot about them. Arthur Schopenhauer once said, "To feel envy is human, but to delight in the misfortune of others is diabolical." And that's exactly what we're talking about here. This attitude reveals a dark side of a person, an inability to empathize, to put themselves in someone else's shoes, and offer a helping hand. I know that this kind of behavior can be difficult to notice at first, because it often manifests subtly. A concealed smile when you stumble, or an apparently innocent joke when you're in a tough situation. It might seem like a trivial reaction, but it's a reflection of something deeper and more concerning. I remember a time when I was going through a difficult period at work. I had lost an important project, and while some colleagues came to offer support, there was one who simply couldn't hide their smile. At that moment, I realized that the discomfort I had always felt around that person made perfect sense. And do you know what I learned from that? That recognizing these signs is essential. The sooner we realize that someone feeds off our failure, the sooner we can protect ourselves. But how do we deal with someone like this? First of all, don't become like them. It's easy to want to respond in the same way, to give them a taste of their own medicine, but that only drags us into a cycle of negativity that does us no good. Instead, choose compassion. Perhaps this person is facing their own internal battles, and their only way of feeling good is by putting others down. This doesn't justify their behavior, but it reminds us that we all have our struggles. Try approaching them with an honest conversation, but if you see no change, it might be better to limit your contact and focus on those who truly add value to your life. When we identify someone who takes pleasure in others' suffering, it's as if we have a choice to make. Will we allow that negative energy to consume us, or will we protect ourselves and seek environments where we can grow and be happy? I chose the latter, and I hope you do too. If you've ever experienced this, if you felt that someone was smiling while you were crying, share in the comments saying, I choose to be light. Let's strengthen a support network together, because knowing that we're not alone makes all the difference. And remember, recognizing this kind of person around you is the first step towards protecting yourself and continuing to grow. Now that we've talked about the pleasure some people feel when seeing others suffer, let's explore a behavior that often goes hand in hand with it: the need for control. When someone delights in others' suffering, it can be a sign of something deeper, a desire to control and dominate others. And believe me, this can be even more harmful. Have you ever felt like someone was trying to control every detail of your life, as if there were an invisible puppeteer pulling your strings, making you act in certain ways or make decisions that, deep down, you didn't want to? This is one of the most common traits of toxic people: the need to control. This desire for control often comes from a deep insecurity. These people believe that if they're not in command of everything, their world might fall apart. To feel safe, they try to manipulate not only their own lives, but also those of others around them. It's as if they're the directors of the film of your life, without caring about your script, your choices, or your dreams. I remember a friend who was dating someone extremely controlling. He wanted to know where she was at every moment, who she was talking to, what she was wearing. At first, she thought it was care, but over time she realized it was suffocating, like being trapped in an invisible cage. It was hard for her to realize that this control had nothing to do with love, but rather with his fear of losing power over her. When she finally managed to set boundaries, it was as if she had taken back control of her own story. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, reminds us that it is not things that disturb us, but our judgment about things. This means that, often, how we react to these attempts at control is what truly matters. Setting clear boundaries is essential. When someone tries to control our choices, we need to remember that our life belongs to us. We mustn't allow anyone to turn us into their puppets. And setting boundaries doesn't mean being rude or aggressive. It means being firm and remembering your own worth. Imagine your life is a beautiful garden. You should decide what to plant, how to care for it, and who you will allow to enter and enjoy your flowers. If someone tries to tell you where to plant each seed, it's no longer your garden, it's theirs. So be aware of these situations. If you feel someone is trying to dictate your decisions, it's time to take action and reclaim control. If you've ever felt this way, if you've ever felt like someone was trying to command your life, I invite you to write in the comments, "I choose to be the director of my story." Share your experience, because your words may help others realize that they too deserve to live life according to their own choices. Don't forget, the freedom to be yourself is a right, and no one has the power to take that away from you. Just as we need to be wary of excessive control, there's also another type of sign that appears quietly, that strange feeling that warns us something is not right. Let's better understand how this instinct works. There are times when, for no apparent reason, we feel uneasy in someone's presence. It's a kind of silent alert that tells us something is off. This feeling is our body picking up signals that our conscious mind has yet to process. Small gestures, facial expressions, tones of voice, all of these contribute to forming an impression that, even without a logical explanation, makes us feel uncomfortable. This discomfort should not be ignored. Our body is much wiser than we imagine. It can sense vibrations and energies around us, and when something feels wrong, it's a sign that we need to pay attention. It's like an internal lie detector, always ready to protect us from harmful situations. A memory I carry with me is of meeting someone who always seemed to have a smile on their face. They were pleasant, but every time I spent time with them, I felt a sense of exhaustion. I would leave these interactions feeling drained, as if my energy had been sucked out. There were no arguments or offensive words, but that constant discomfort was a clear sign. Only after some time did I realize that this relationship was harming me. Maya Angelou once said, "When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time." This quote is a reminder that we must trust what we feel. If someone's presence repeatedly makes us feel bad, it's a sign we need to value. We don't always need a logical reason to distance ourselves. Sometimes, what we feel is reason enough. Share your experience here if you've ever been through something similar. Write, "I trust my intuition," and let's strengthen this support network. Your instinct is your best defense, and trusting it is the first step to maintaining your peace. Don't let any discomfort be ignored. Value what your body and mind are trying to tell you. After discussing how our intuition alerts us to toxic people, it is important to address a common behavior that often masks someone's true intentions: the habit of lying. Lying is a poison that silently spreads within relationships. Some lie to impress, to manipulate, or simply because they have become accustomed to distorting the truth to get what they want. This habit creates an invisible barrier between us and others, preventing trust from being established. There is a big difference between an innocent lie, such as a polite compliment to someone who has a new haircut, and manipulative lies intended to gain an advantage or deceive. The latter are dangerous because they distort reality, creating a world where it becomes difficult to discern what is true and what is not. People who lie compulsively are not only creating false stories, but also damaging our ability to trust. I remember someone I met who seemed to have an impressive story for every situation. At first, it was fascinating to hear about so many adventures, so many achievements, but gradually, I began to notice inconsistencies. The dates didn't add up, the details changed, and most importantly, that person's eyes didn't convey truth. That was when I realized I was dealing with someone who lied not only to impress, but also to manipulate those around them. According to psychologist Robert Feldman from the University of Massachusetts in a 10-minute conversation, most people lie at least 3 times. For many, these lies are harmless. However, when someone makes lying a constant and exaggerated habit, the consequences can be devastating for those around them. It is important to watch for signs. Someone who avoids eye contact, hesitates when answering, or, conversely, looks intensely trying to convince you, may be hiding something. Tone of voice is also an indicator. Sudden changes or overly elaborate responses are clues that something might be amiss. Immanuel Kant said that lying is morally wrong in all circumstances. This is a truth we must consider. Lying destroys trust, and without trust there is no solid foundation for any relationship. Identifying a liar is not about judging them, but about protecting oneself from the consequences of blindly trusting someone who does not value the truth. Choosing to surround yourself with people who value honesty is a fundamental step in cultivating a more authentic and fulfilling life. The truth, no matter how hard it may be, is always better than living in a reality distorted by lies. Therefore, be attentive to the signs and always value transparency in relationships, because we deserve to live alongside people who inspire us to be better, not those who deceive us for convenience. After understanding the effects of lying, let us talk about another subtle form of manipulation: the exploitation of kindness. Toxic people often see kindness as an opportunity to take advantage. Kindness is one of the noblest qualities we can have. When we are kind, we create space for healthier relationships, full of empathy and collaboration. But unfortunately, not everyone sees kindness as something to be appreciated. For some toxic people, kindness is seen as a weakness, an opportunity to exploit. They use strategies such as emotional blackmail and empty promises to take advantage of those who are generous. Have you ever met someone who always came to you whenever they needed something, but was never available when it was you who needed help? This is a classic form of exploitation. These people use phrases like, "If you were truly my friend, you would do this for me," or, "I promise this is the last time I ask for something like this." Emotional blackmail creates a sense of guilt in kind people, making them keep giving in, even when it harms them. Albert Bernstein, a psychologist specializing in behavior, explains that toxic people are like emotional vacuums. They suck up all our energy and willingness, leaving us exhausted. When we fail to recognize our own value, we end up allowing others to use our kindness as an open door to abuse. I remember a situation where a friend was always asking for financial help. At first, I helped without a second thought, believing I was doing the right thing. But over time, I realized that he never made any effort to change his situation, and whenever I refused to help, he made me feel guilty, saying I was abandoning him. It was difficult, but I learned to set boundaries. I realized that my kindness should not be mistaken for an infinite availability to bear the weight of choices that were not mine. Setting boundaries is essential. It does not mean being less generous, but rather recognizing that your energy, your time, and your attention have value. As Immanuel Kant said, kindness is the only investment that never fails. Being kind is an act of love, but it must begin with oneself. When we learn to say no without guilt, we show the world that our kindness is a gift, not an obligation. Recognize your value, and do not let others exploit your kindness. Be clear about what you are willing to offer, and when. True kindness comes from the desire to help, not from pressure or blackmail. Value those who respect your boundaries, and you will find that the healthiest relationships are based on a balance between giving and receiving. We've reached the halfway point of the video, and if you've made it this far, I'd ask you to leave a like so I can bring more content like this in the future. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what I'm going to share is something that few people know, but it makes all the difference in achieving truly impactful results. Sometimes the signs don't come from within us, but from the people around us. Those who truly care about us often see what we can't, especially when we're blinded by intense emotions. Friends and family play a crucial role in our lives. They are like mirrors reflecting what we often don't want to see. When we are close to someone toxic, our feelings can blind us to the warning signs. At these times, those who truly love us are the first to notice that something is wrong and try to warn us. Ignoring these warnings can cost us dearly. It's easy to be carried away by emotions and ignore the opinion of those who know us best. However, someone outside of a situation often has a clearer view. Imagine a couple where one partner constantly belittles the other. It may be that within the relationship, that person sees the behavior as concern or care, but friends and family can see the manipulation and control behind it. These warnings are attempts to protect us, and as much as we may not want to hear them, they are extremely valuable. I remember a story a friend shared with me. She was deeply involved in a relationship and believed she had found the right person. However, her friends began to notice strange behaviors, isolation, control, and constant criticism. She ignored these warnings for quite some time, thinking her friends didn't understand the relationship. It was only after suffering deep emotional distress that she realized they were right all along. Her friends could see what she, in love and involved, couldn't. Aristotle said, "A friend is a soul inhabiting two bodies. Our true friends share our joys and sorrows, and precisely because of this, they can have a different and often clearer perspective on what we are experiencing. Valuing these opinions is an act of wisdom, as those who truly love us want our well-being, even if the truth hurts. It's natural to want to believe we are making the best choices. However, recognizing that we need to listen to others is an act of humility and self-love. It's not about letting others decide for us, but accepting that sometimes we need an external perspective to see what we're ignoring internally. Value those who are by your side and don't hesitate to say what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear. These are the true allies in the journey of life. Just as the warnings from those who love us are essential, there is one behavior we should never ignore: contempt. It manifests subtly, but is a powerful poison that erodes our confidence and self-esteem. Contempt is like a silent toxin that little by little eats away at the best in us. Unlike constructive criticism, which aims to help us grow, contempt has the sole purpose of belittling us, making us doubt our own worth. Those who show contempt do not want us to grow. They want us to feel small, incapable, and often worthless. Constructive criticism comes with care, with a genuine desire to help. Contempt, on the other hand, appears in sarcastic comments, judgmental looks, and hurtful words. It's that kind of comment which, even though it may seem innocent, makes us feel inadequate and insecure. When we are surrounded by contempt, it's as if the ground slowly disappears, leaving us without a foundation to build our self-esteem. The impact of contempt is not only emotional, but also physical. Studies from the University of Washington show that being constantly subjected to contempt can increase stress levels, affecting the body's health. Those who live in environments where contempt is constant are more likely to develop problems such as anxiety, depression, and even physical illnesses. Contempt hurts not only the mind, but also the body. Once I met someone who always seemed to find something negative in everything I did. I shared an achievement, and instead of receiving support, I heard a cold comment, as if it wasn't important. Gradually, I realized this behavior was not only towards me but others around as well. It was difficult, but I understood that this was contempt, and I could not allow it to affect who I am. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The opinion others have of you does not belong to you." We cannot allow others' judgments to define our worth. Protecting ourselves from contempt is about recognizing what is constructive criticism for our benefit and what is an attempt to diminish us. It is necessary to set boundaries, distance ourselves from those who insist on treating us with disdain, and remember that our value does not lie in the critical gaze of those who cannot recognize the best in us. Strengthen your barriers, value your self-esteem, and choose to be close to those who want to see you grow, not those who try to dim your light. After understanding the impact of contempt in our lives, let's talk about another important sign that reveals much about a person's character: the way they treat animals. This behavior says more than we imagine. I remember when I was a child and spent weekends at my grandparents' house. There was a dog there, Rex, a mongrel who was part of the family. He was always around, with that loving look and his tail wagging. I would watch my grandfather care for Rex with all the affection in the world. He would take him for walks, make sure to feed him on time, and even talk to him as if they were old friends. From an early age, I learned that treating animals well was something natural, an extension of our own love and respect for life. But one day, a new neighbor moved into the street. He seemed friendly at first, always smiling and waving, until, one morning, I heard shouting from the yard next door. When I went to look, I saw the neighbor kicking his dog because the poor animal had dug a hole in the garden. The scene left a deep impression on me. I couldn't understand how someone could treat a defenseless being like that. It wasn't just an act of cruelty, but also a clear demonstration of the kind of person he was, someone incapable of feeling compassion for a creature that depended on him. The philosopher Immanuel Kant once said, "We can judge the heart of a man by the way he treats animals." Those words have always resonated with me, and that morning, I understood their meaning. Mistreatment isn't just physical cruelty, but also neglect and indifference. The neighbor could have trained the dog, could have had patience, but he chose violence. It showed me that the respect and empathy he appeared to have were, in fact, just a facade. Later, I spoke to my grandparents, and they taught me that we shouldn't stay silent in the face of situations like that. Acting against animal abuse is not only about protecting the defenseless, but also about showing who we are as human beings. So, we decided to speak to the local authorities, and the dog was rescued. That day I learned that silence in the face of cruelty makes us complicit, and that small actions can make a big difference. Mistreatment of animals isn't just about extreme acts of cruelty. It's also the small daily neglects, like leaving an animal without water, without affection, without the minimum of attention. The way we treat those who depend on us reflects what we carry inside us. When we see someone disrespecting an animal, we are seeing a reflection of who that person really is, and that should serve as a warning to us. Caring for animals is an act of humanity and empathy. If you know someone who acts negligently or cruelly towards their animals, don't stay silent. Just as my grandfather taught me, our voice can be the difference between suffering and relief. After all, protecting the weak is what makes us truly human. After talking about respect for animals, it's time to address an emotion that, when uncontrolled, can poison even the best of relationships: envy. But surprisingly, there is a way to turn it into something positive. Envy is like a poison that sneaks into our soul, corroding our peace. It can manifest in various ways: in a friend who scorns your achievements, in a coworker who belittles your efforts, or even in ourselves when we feel frustrated by others' success. This feeling, if uncontrolled, becomes a destructive cycle, and those dominated by envy turn into emotional vampires, sucking the happiness out of those around them. Envious people cannot celebrate the victories of others. Instead, they are consumed by resentment, secretly wishing for the other to fail, just to feel better about themselves. Aristotle taught us that envy is the pain caused by the good of others, and this pain, if not transformed, ends up destroying us from within. I remember a time when I was just starting to find success in my career. I was excited, making progress, and gradually noticed that some people around me, who used to support me, started to distance themselves. At first, I didn't understand why, until one day a close friend said to me, "It's because you've been doing so much. They feel diminished next to you." It was a shock to realize that my progress was seen as a threat, but that was when I learned something valuable. Others' envy does not define my worth. I could choose to feel guilty for my success, or use that situation as fuel to keep growing. And you know what? Envy can also be a motivating force if we know how to use it in the right way. When we feel that discomfort upon seeing someone achieve what we want, we have two options: sink into frustration, or transform that feeling into motivation. Instead of being consumed by others' success, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What has that person done that I haven't yet? And most importantly, how can I grow from here? The truth is, success is not a limited resource. When someone achieves something, it doesn't reduce your chances. On the contrary, it can be an example that it is possible. Use envy as a signal that you want more, and instead of wanting others to fail, be inspired by their path to carve out your own. And now, I want to invite you to a reflection. If you have ever felt envy creeping into your heart, Turn this poison into energy for your growth. In the comments, write, "I choose to grow," and make this phrase a personal commitment. By doing this, you will be reaffirming to yourself that you will not let envy control you, but instead use it as a force to achieve what you desire. And by sharing this, you will be helping others to also make this powerful choice. Remember, others' success does not diminish your own. Use it as inspiration to become the best version of yourself. Throughout this video, we have explored the signs that indicate the presence of ill-intentioned people around us. Recognizing these behaviors is not just a matter of perception, but a powerful weapon for protection. When we understand how these attitudes affect our well-being, we take the first step towards protecting ourselves and setting boundaries that keep us safe and at peace. Knowledge sets us free, for by understanding the hidden intentions of those who try to harm us, we can avoid their traps and preserve our mental health. Applying Stoicism in situations like these is essential, accepting what we cannot change, but always maintaining control over our reactions. Epictetus teaches us that it is not things that disturb us, but our judgment about them. Therefore, we need to choose how to react with wisdom and serenity, without allowing others' negativity to affect us. I want to encourage you to take the next step. Use what you have learned today to transform your life. Observe your surroundings, recognize the signs, and most importantly, choose to react in a way that preserves your peace and values. You deserve to live surrounded by people who respect and care about your well-being. Now, if you have identified any of these signs in your life, share in the comments which one was the most evident to you and how you intend to deal with it moving forward. This is not just a form of engagement, but a personal commitment to putting into practice what has been learned, as well as helping others who may be going through similar situations. If this content was useful, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you don't miss future topics. Together, we can strengthen ourselves and learn more and more about how to live more consciously and balanced. And remember, knowledge is the greatest weapon you can have.